Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the orchard of wisdom is just ready for picking. We celebrate your why, the journey that you've taken that inspires someone else. We support your services, we support your story. Come and be our guest, become a host, be an author with us. Come and see what we've got. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living. I'm your host, Sara Troy, and my guest today is a mother of 15. Yes, I did say a mother of 15. 13, she birthed herself. Lachelle Atkins has been married to Jerome Atkins for 25 years, and they have 15 children. He had 2 children before, older children, and they have 13 together. So the title of Supermom, I think, is most certainly very apropos. How does she balance it all? Is it more stressful? Yes, it is, because at one point she did end up in hospital, completely stressed out, full of anxiety, which is not just the case because she has so many children, but is something that happens to all mothers. We get mummy burnout. And so consequently, because of this, she has 7 wonderful ways to avoid mummy burnout. And we're going to share those ways here today. And she and her husband have started a company called, let me just see, Protocol Landscape Consultants. And it's here to help other people navigate their way through life. But let's share her story. And I know somebody with 9 children. And the thing is actually the 9 children were easier to entertain and take out and work with than it was with my 3 children, who were all very independent. The children came together and were there for each other and entertained each other. Is this the dynamic that you actually find in your family?
Definitely. It's amazing to me how the first child, I remember helping tie shoes and ride a bike. And then as you get to the latter children, it's like, oh, mommy, today I can ride my bike because one of their siblings has taught them to ride a bike or tie their shoes or something like that. So that definitely is the dynamic.
Yeah, it's I mean, I don't know if they have too many outside friends, but you're a community, aren't you? You're a little village unto yourself.
Yes. And that, it really helps to make sure that they're raised with good values. They look up to their older siblings. So we really like to stress to them, making sure that you're a good example, that you don't want your siblings doing something that you wouldn't do. Right. And so they've learned a lot about not just what you say, but also what you do.
Yes.
Making sure those measure up. Yes.
My youngest just got married, and in my speech to her, I pointed out how smart she was to learn from the mistakes of her brothers and sisters, because she didn't go and make the same mistakes. And that's the thing.
Definitely.
The older ones are going to be more adventurous. The younger ones are going to go, that didn't work.
Exactly. They have a lot more wisdom, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, obviously, you've got the stress of the meals, the laundry, the lunches for school, the whole thing. But then you've got your tribe where everybody, as you said, is pitching in. It's not just you. But was there a point in your life where you took all of this on and did it all yourself?
Definitely. And that's like, as you discussed earlier, I was hospitalized for stress. And a lot of that first with me being an only child. So not really knowing how to navigate siblings and delegate and see a team working together, because as an only child, the house never really got a mess. We only had 2 or 3 dishes in the sink. And so that whole transition of all of them being born close in age, they're all like 18 to 20 months apart. So it was just like the routine was established with me playing that role. And then I just kept adding one more to it and one more to it, and never really taking time to step back and say, you know what, these children are older, they can do these things. I just was into survival mode, so to speak. And that just kind of kept going. Yes.
Yeah, and we don't realize, because, the mama in us wants to do everything, right?
Exactly.
And we think that we have to do everything. Where, when you look at times of old, it was the village. Everybody chipped in to help to raise everybody else's children, right? And there were big families.
Absolutely.
And the big families then were a lot to do with survival, because many children did not survive, beyond certain ages. And
Exactly.
you're very, very lucky to have, 15 very healthy children.
Yes, yes, it definitely is a blessing. Something that I definitely don't take for granted. That's for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean,
Yeah.
quite honestly, quintessentially, the odds are not normally in your favor when you have a large family. So you've definitely been blessed that way, and very lucky to
Yes.
have that. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's why do women take on the role of trying to be super mom and be it all? There's, I don't know if you oh gosh, I'm trying to remember the movie. It was all about the unions. It was Sally Field, and at one point her husband is complaining he hasn't had any sex lately, and there isn't
Mm-hmm.
food on the table because she's fighting for the union. So she's busy doing the ironing fruits and potatoes in a pot, lifted up her skirt and said, "Okay, let's get to it."
Right.
And it's like, why do we feel that we have to fit into every role?
Yeah, I think for me, what I've struggled only from my own experience is that I felt that my worth and value was attached to the role that I played.
Mm-hmm.
So this made it really hard. Like, I felt like I wasn't a good mom if my kids didn't make good grades,
Mm-hmm.
or if they didn't get along. I always internalized these things as me losing my worth or value instead of really analyzing what's really going on. So I use the example with my clients is that, you could drive a car. If it has a flat tire, you're not going to say, I'm not going to drive cars anymore. I got a flat tire. I'm not a good driver. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But when it comes to our life, we're
But a wobbly here, folks.
able to compartmentalize sometimes the roles, and it's like a all or nothing. Yeah. Very extreme type of thinking. So I think that's really where a lot of that stems.
Where does that come from, though? Who put those expectations on us? Because it wasn't the expectation, in times of old. Is this part of the women's lib movement? I'm so independent, I can be everything. And then basically
I
society said,
think maybe
yes, go
that could
ahead,
be a
be
part of.
everything.
Right. I think that it's seeking that validation
Mm-hmm.
in different ways, and society does play a role with it. I know when I first decided to get into life coaching, I just kind of did a pause with social media. I stopped watching TV because I had kind of lost my own voice. I felt
Yes.
like I had the voices of others, family, friends, society, and I just needed to take some time to figure out what is it that I want to do.
Yeah.
What is my, values, and all these type of things. So I think it's kind of like a combination of all of that.
Yeah.
It all gets mixed in to where you're so busy just being in this role and surviving that you really don't question things. You just allow these expectations to form, and you never question and say, you know what? Okay, it's important for me to have 3 square meals for my kids, but everything doesn't have to be homemade. I
Right.
mean, that was something that I struggled with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We are having a little bit of a delay here today. I'm not quite sure what's going
I'm a
on.
stay-home mom. I say, and it's like French fries sometimes.
Okay, we're having a bit of feedback and a bit of delay here, so bear with us, folks. This is the internet, which is a wonderful tool, but at the same time, it has its
Yeah.
own challenges, right? And doesn't always adhere to us. So you're right, is that there is this expectation that we have to be Miss Perfect Mom, perfect wife, only the home cooked meal. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you bought a meal, and she's wearing what?
Right.
And their hair is
Right.
doing what? And your kids are playing in the mud. Oh, I got criticized
Yes.
a lot for my raising of my children, because I raised my children to question, to be inquisitive,
Mm-hmm.
to test their own
Mm-hmm.
boundaries, but to know when instinctually they were going too far, when to pull back. 'Cause
Right.
I wanted them to be prepared to survive in the world. So, um,
Exactly.
and I became that house where other kids came to when parents
Right.
weren't willing to listen, or,
Mm-hmm.
where they were feeling unheard or unwanted.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a no nonsense mum, But at the same time, that didn't mean there wasn't love. May disagree
Exactly.
with what you did, but that doesn't have any effect on the how I love you, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the common denominator of parenting. It doesn't matter if you're struggling sometimes, but as long as the kids know there's love there, there's genuine
Exactly.
love there, they'll get through any storm, won't they?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, we've had our share, because my kids have been able to see through some of their older siblings. Just the case right now, we have our oldest daughter. We come from a religious background. My husband is a pastor, and she's a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to balance and explain to them the whole thing that, life is about each individual making their own choices.
Yes.
And we accept and love you as you are. It doesn't matter,
Right.
So those are things that you can't control. And that's
Right.
like one of the 7 things that I discussed with burnout is knowing what you can control and what you can't. It's silly for me to have this legalistic attitude that, hey, don't come in here with any kids. I mean, that's of course the goal.
Yeah.
But in the event that it happens, you're faced with some decisions to say, is this goal so important that you can't give the love that's necessary during a time of something that you wouldn't want for your kids?
Right. And the
Yeah.
thing is, we all make mistakes. And
Mm-hmm.
especially if it comes to another life, it's, we
Yes.
don't persecute the child, and you really
Mm-hmm.
can't persecute the mother. They know they're going to, the consequences they're going to be paying for the rest of their lives. You don't need to
Absolutely.
persecute. So basically at this point, it's support. It doesn't mean you agree with the decision, but you support it because it's more than
Exactly.
one life at risk here, right? So that's where love has to step
Absolutely.
in. You see, I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
a movie on right now, about trying to change a child that was born gay into not being gay. I have an interview with somebody that was brutally beaten and sexually abused by his family, and even and Russian roulette guns
Mm.
and things like this. And you look at the way some people are brought up, and we wonder
Yes.
why we have so many dysfunctional people in the world. And that dysfunction comes from parents who are not, or have probably never known love themselves, right?
Right.
So they don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to love. And
Exactly.
they're still carrying baggage that they're not even sure what it is they're carrying. They're unwilling or unable to do the work to find that
Mm-hmm.
self-love so that they can find love. Um, and that's a really hard thing to do, because of course then it gets imposed upon the children, and this is where you end up with
Exactly.
so much disconnect. So whatever goes on
Mm-hmm.
in the dynamics of a family, there's always going to be some things that you don't like. That's
Tell
just
me
the way
about
it
it.
is,
Yeah.
right? Always
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
decisions that they make, and you just pray, just
Right.
please pray that they find another fork in the road and go a different direction. But at some
Absolutely.
point you have to step back, don't you?
Yes.
And go, I love them, here's the white light, here's all my prayers for them, but I have to step back and let them make their own decisions, because
Definitely.
you can't control those choices. It's not for
Mm-hmm.
us to do. We're only custodians, aren't we?
That's exactly right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just instilling in them that inner strength to
Mm,
understand that, you're going to make choices, and sometimes you're going to be the victim of other people's bad
yeah.
choices.
Yes.
So knowing how to navigate during those times.
Yeah.
And, you brought up the thing about the parents not necessarily knowing love.
Right.
And that looks so different for so many people.
Yeah.
And, if you can't love yourself, it's going to be hard for you to instill the things that you desire for your kids in them,
Yes.
because that clouds a lot of your vision. That takes away a lot of clarity
Mm-hmm.
because you're so concerned about the wrong thing
Mm-hmm.
that it's hard for your kids to get the right things in order for them to grow up. And that's one of the things that I had to be honest with myself with and say, you know what, I am just feeling like my love is determined by how many things I do right, how many nights, deeds I do for people. And I was spreading myself so thin, and then still living each day feeling like I hadn't accomplished much.
Right.
You know, the bar just kept getting higher and higher and higher. And I felt like I still wasn't accomplishing anything. So being able to kind of take that time to inner reflect, it takes a lot of courage to do it.
Yes.
You know, but there's a lot of freedom once you decide, hey, I just don't want this life anymore. I want to be happy and I want to be fulfilled. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop chasing the illusion.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's you know, I say this all the time, it's society's expectation.
Right.
Who decided? And why did we agree?
Exactly. Exactly.
And why do we persecute ourselves so much to try and living up to an expectation that it hasn't got anything to do with us?
Right. And then when you talk to your friends and family, you realize everybody else is dealing with the same stress and nobody else agrees with it either.
Right.
But we're all sucked into this mindset of way of thinking. And yeah, it's really crazy how that happens.
And counterproductive. Because you know, we're not being productive people at all, because we're in this spiral of trying to please, trying to fit into an image, you know, trying to be Miss Perfect. But what is perfect? Perfect is a happy home, is loving, happy children, right? You know, and as the husband would say, happy wife,
happy home,
marriage, happy home, right?
That's right.
And so, you know, when everybody is just simply living their life with love and believing in their possibilities and feel that they're loved and supported enough to spread the wings in life and explore, really that is really what it's all about.
Definitely. And I just noticed that so much more for myself. That allows me to be able to give my all to someone and be intentional in an experience, in a meeting, because I feel like I don't need to come to the meeting to get something from somebody.
No.
I feel like I can be there and pour out everything and walk away feeling like I'm adding value and then moving on to the next person. Right. Whereas before, it's like, I need this person to validate me, or I need to feel like I'm doing a good deed. And you know, you never know who you can run into. So if you run into somebody who doesn't know how to give love or whatever, it's like your day is shot because you needed something from somebody. You gave them the control that they may not necessarily have deserved. And you're walking away feeling worse. So
never give your power away, right?
Yes, definitely.
It is about sharing the empowerment, but don't give your power away. Right?
Exactly.
Because when you do, then you become vulnerable. And
definitely.
And that vulnerability starts chiseling away. And at your confidence, at your self-worth, you know, and when you second guess everything of who you are, what you've done.
Absolutely.
You're busy trying to validate what?
Right.
Who?
Absolutely.
Nobody on the outside matters until the inside matters.
That is so true. Yeah. So that was, you know, it was a struggle for me because, like I said, I had to learn that after 3 hospitalizations, but I'm thankful that I did learn it. And I look at those experiences as a wonderful opportunity to get a second chance.
Yes.
A second chance of knowing how to live life right and better, you know, so I'm thankful for it. You know, now I can really appreciate it. Of course, it was hard going through it, but I definitely have learned, and I love being able to share that gift to other people that may be struggling with the same thing.
The thing is that the best form of information is from people who've taken the path.
Oh, yeah.
You know, avoid this pothole.
Right.
Make sure you've got this in your backpack.
Exactly.
Right? Don't go out when there's a thunderstorm, you know.
Right.
And it's not, you know, you traveling by numbers. It's you traveling equipped with knowledge, with tools, with instruments that are going to help you in your journey of life. Your journey of life is up to you. But when somebody else has taken that journey and, you know, they've had the potholes for you and they're now turning around, helping you navigate through yours. It just makes us all get to where we're going in life, which of course life is a journey. The going is to the end, but it
Mm-hmm.
is there's little milestones along the way of
Yes.
achievability, and we want to get to those so we can and really feel triumphant. And I did this. I reached that,
Right.
right? And if
Right.
I can do this, what else can I do? And
Absolutely.
and that only comes from your own self-discovery and your
Yeah.
willingness to place value upon yourself,
Mm-hmm.
empower yourself, but most
Definitely.
importantly, the love of self.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. And I know one thing that you did point out is that, the person has to be willing
Yeah.
to ask.
Yes.
It's like there are so many mentors, coaches out
Hmm.
there that are willing to help. But, that's one of the things I appreciate with being a coach. My job is not to tell you
Right.
what to do. It's for you to realize, you know what, I'm having a problem trusting people,
Yeah.
or I'm having a problem establishing boundaries, or I'm having a problem with self confidence. You've already identified
Yes.
your problem.
Hmm.
Now you're looking to me, how am I going to handle this? How am I going to get past this? How am I going to overcome this? And so that's a different place, because a lot of people feel like, a role of a coach is just to tell you what to
No.
do and give you a formula. Everybody's different. We have our own story. And
Yeah.
so a coach takes the time to figure out, okay, well, why are you feeling this lack of self confidence? Is it something in your family? We go back and we kind of figure out where it started, because what it really happens is that when you have an issue with something, if it's confidence, if it's establishing boundaries, there was some event that occurred. That event only occurred one time,
Yes.
but you're beating yourself up, or
Yeah.
it's affecting your future because you have not handled that actual event in a proper way. And it could have been because you were young and didn't have the knowledge, or
Hmm.
there's a number of reasons why.
Yeah.
And so we get together and figure out, why did you respond that way? And now that you have the information that you do have, how would you like to handle the situation? You can't go back and change it, but you can now begin a new boundary for whatever, maybe it's for spending,
Yeah.
so that you will not get in debt from this point on. So different things like that.
And that's the thing, we've already discussed one, which is your worth is not determined by the
Mm-hmm.
role you play, like as a wife,
Mm-hmm.
mother, or position or career. And of course, the second one we've already done, identify what you can and cannot control, which
Mm-hmm.
is a huge one, isn't it? Because
Huge.
if we're trying to control everything, what's happening? We're being wound up like a clock, and what's going to happen? The spring's going to go. You're going to end up in hospital.
Exactly.
When we realize actually we have no control, that's when we
Mm-hmm.
realize we're more in control.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And then,
Definitely.
of course, your third one is establishing realistic goals. Now, that's really
Mm-hmm.
important because, it's not your 5-year plan.
Right.
It's really your goal getting to the end of the block, so to speak.
Right.
Well, and when you place a good foundation, a good blueprint, really well founded, and your
Mm-hmm.
goal is that, I want to build a high rise. Well, you don't build
Right.
from the top down. You've got to build
Exactly.
a very solid foundation that's going to be able to take the many floors of achievement that you're going to have.
Right.
So
Right.
if a lot of people have got the great ideas and they go straight
Mm-hmm.
after the idea without building the foundation, then they wonder why it crumbles. So in
Exactly.
goal setting, it really is the nitty gritty of the seeding, the rooting, the building, the foundating, so that you can grow solid and
Right.
sturdy.
Absolutely. And I think that's sometimes a problem for a lot of moms,
Mm,
because we look at, like I said, I felt really bad if my kids weren't making good grades. And, that doesn't take into account for me to think about, well, my strengths might have been math and science. So
yes.
if I have a child who does not have that strength, I'm thinking, what's wrong with them?
Hmm.
I mean, this is my child. Why aren't they good at that? And so I can have a goal of, well, I want them to make A's and B's, but I'm not taking into account the reality that my child may be a creative mindset
Yes.
that doesn't even think along
Mathematically.
math and
Yes.
science. You see what I'm saying?
Me. Oh, yeah. That was me.
So I couldn't grasp that and comprehend that. So I felt like, oh, what's wrong with my child? Instead of accepting my child for their strength that may be different than mine,
Yeah.
and coming up with some goals that both of us can be happy with. And
Right.
see, that's another thing. Sometimes as a parent, we have goals for our kids' lives, but we don't give them any input.
Oh,
You know?
oh, oh my God. Are you hitting on something there? I would tell you pretty well, every show I do, anybody that's had the journey in life, it's somewhere along the line as the injured child. The child
Right.
that was not given a voice, the child that was not loved, the child that was not recognized for who they are, what their gifts were. The expectations put upon the child, you must be, rather than
Right.
I see who you are, let's nurture that. And
Exactly.
in True Colors, the Myers-Briggs things, there's 4 key personalities that we all have. And those are the perspectives that we see in life. Well, if we look at that as I'm a creator, blue,
Right.
sky blue,
Right.
and I see everything from possibility and creativity, the whole picture, and then it has to go down to the core root. Some
Right.
people may see things from the core root. Some people may see things as a blueprint. The point is listening to our child's language, listening
Right.
to how they see things, because then we know how to nurture and conduct that, not dictate, well, you've got to think my way.
Exactly.
Okay. Yes, folks, I had a little coughing spasm there. I'm sorry about that. I will hopefully got most of it chopped out. And, that kind of brings to point that we're always going to have a little spanner in the works somewhere along the line, aren't we? And again, going back to how we perceive things, some people who really look to things, or everything's got to be perfect. That, having an asthmatic coughing fit in the middle of something is like, oh my God, not professional. Well, I'm human. This is one of my conditions that I have, and I won't get into one of those things. It's a spasm and can't stop it. And that's the thing in life too, isn't it? Is making sure with our kids is that if they do have something, they get anxious or something happens, it's never to feel guilty or ashamed about it, because life happens, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I really like that point about it. And one of the things that I've also learned too is that I feel like what I had used to do was, if I'm a creative person and someone is not, I look at my way as right and their way as wrong.
Right.
Instead of looking at there are 2 perspectives to a situation. And I, based on my upbringing, chose to handle things this way.
Yes.
But it's okay to be able to explore, maybe that may not have been the best way of doing it, or it doesn't mean that my way was wrong. Because I'm learning this with the millennials. To me, I feel like there's a lot of strengths to them. They're like, hey, why work hard if you can work smart?
Yes.
So some things we can get from them, right?
Yeah.
And then some things we still can keep, but knowing why you're doing something. And so a lot of this goes back to really knowing what your voice is.
Yeah.
And what you value and stand for, because you can be clear about, well, why would I do that, or why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
And being able to stand on that.
And going back to that expectation, was it something expected of me, or is it something that's really
exactly
valid?
Exactly.
Is it even apropos to the moment? And that's the thing is getting caught up in something that we think others expect from us. And so we're going to number 4, which is create a system that consists of including work towards your goals in your daily routine. And that's saying it's small changes, isn't it? You're not going to change everything overnight. We've got to understand the brain is the CPU, it's the hard drive.
Exactly.
Right? The mind is the programming. Now, if you've got an awful lot of programming in there that's out of date, you've got to take the time to go through there to reprogram.
Exactly.
Right? So it's deleting the old, introducing the new, and we know that it takes 8 times doing something before the mind starts grabbing onto it.
Exactly.
So practice makes perfect.
This is so true. And I think another thing is attaching something new to something old.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
you get up and you brush your teeth in the morning, maybe you can get up and say, you know what, I'm going to say 5 things I'm grateful for while I'm
Yeah.
brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
So if you're attaching it to something old, you can incorporate it a lot faster, more so than just saying, you know what, I don't exercise, so next week I'm going to work out 5 days out of the week, when you haven't been doing anything at all.
Yes. Or
Yeah.
where's the oil? Yes.
Then you're so worn out that
Yeah.
it's like you did it for 5 days, but then it's going to be 5 months before you do it again,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes. Yeah. Baby steps. I mean, there's a
Baby
reason,
steps.
right?
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
the thing is the gratitude is a great point, but also
Yeah.
enthusiasm. If you don't
Yes.
overload yourself with like, I've got to be, from 0 to 10 in 10 seconds, and just go 0 to 1 is fine.
Right.
And I did that in 5 seconds. Yay, kudo. The next
Right.
step is going to be better. And it's okay to do baby steps, because again, that's in the foundation is more secure, isn't it?
Right. Right. And you're able to maintain that. You know,
Yeah.
if you're doing baby steps, your expectations are a lot lower.
Mm.
And when you exceed those expectations, that gives you the momentum to keep moving forward,
Right.
you
And push
know,
yourself a
and
little further. And well, if I could do
right.
that, I could do this. Yeah.
And you're building not just the baby steps, but you're building consistency
Mm.
and discipline, which are the things that you'll be able to do on that hard day when, you don't feel like going to work, but you're already used to thinking of the things you're grateful for. So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm glad I have a job.
Mm.
Other people are not working. So that's
Mm.
one of the 5 things that you can genuinely be happy for on that day when you might not be having the best day.
And it's good to actually probably keep those 5 things in the morning consistent.
Yeah.
The solids,
Yes.
right?
Yes, definitely.
And you can
Hmm.
add gratitudes through the day for the other little things that happen.
Absolutely.
But those 5 solids are your root, your meat and your
Exactly.
potatoes. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And when you have an emergency, something that comes out of left field, you still have the foundation and stability of knowing what to expect every day. And that's
Right.
what you've decided you're going to expect every day,
Yes.
not what somebody else is telling you have to expect every day.
Yeah. I always
Mm-hmm.
refer to people kind of as trees. Is find your soil to root, and allow your trunk to be the core of you to be strong, and then you can branch out and be flexible in the wind of life.
That's good. I like that.
So we have to know how to bend and go with the wind. It's always going to,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's a breeze, sometimes it's a tornado, but if the core of us is
Right.
strong, if our roots are strong, we'll weather those storms.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. That's a great point. Mm-hmm.
So number 5 I love. Spend the first hour you awake doing something for yourself. This will
Yes.
allow you to have a better attitude in tackling your day. Now,
Mm-hmm.
most moms are going to go, but I dragged myself out of bed and I've got to make lunches and get the breakfast. What do you mean take an hour for myself?
Yeah. For me, I started getting up an hour earlier and
Mm.
doing something that I wanted, because what I noticed when my days were overwhelming and out of
Mm.
control is that I never had that time for myself. I would always do for others, and there wouldn't be anything left over. So I'm left over late at night, staying up, watching whatever's on TV, not even watching a show that I maybe even
Right.
wanted to watch. I'm just watching what's available.
Yeah.
And that going to bed unfulfilled and then waking up and thinking I'm going to do the same thing the next day.
Yeah.
So I noticed that I always put others before myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, just to make the change to get up and read a book, to have prayer, or, do something for my business for an hour, gave me that much more momentum to be able to tackle the day and feel like, you know what, I've accomplished the
Mm-hmm.
most important thing for me. Now I can give to everybody else and
It's
not feel
oxygenating yourself, right?
exactly.
I mean, it's
But
even
in that,
just being in the shower, letting that water come down, some affirmations, maybe a little tapping, it's that preparing
yes,
yourself for the day. I'm even going through some business while that water is running down you. It's taking time for you.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're oxygenated,
Yes.
you're in the right gear, and then whatever the day is going to
Yes.
hand to you, you're ready to handle.
Absolutely. Yep. That's absolutely right. Because, like I said, we usually, as moms, we give ourselves the leftovers.
Yes.
And it may not even be anything that we wanted. All the good stuff was already picked, and we're just left with the scraps. And to do that every day, it just gets to be exhausting. And you're never going to be able to pick yourself up sometimes, a lot of times, because you don't really have anything, not enough energy to be able to do that.
Yeah. And you feel
You're
so
just,
unappreciated.
yes. Mm-hmm.
I think every
Definitely.
mom goes through that somewhere along the line, that you feel so unappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
You do all this for them and they just take it for granted. And
Exactly.
and it's just their expectation that mom will do it. All right.
Right.
And, not that mom's tired or mom's this or mom's that. Mom will do it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
But
And
we set that up though. We
set
allowed
that
it.
up.
Yeah.
We set that up. So yeah, I just said, you know what? If I want to be happy, if I want to be energized, it's up to me to do that for myself, so
Yes.
that I can reflect that type of energy to my kids. And I wanted to be excited.
Yes.
Most mornings I would just get up and I'd be like, oh, here we go again with the same thing. But now it's like I'm excited. I can really give to them, hey, what kind of day are we going to have? I can establish new routines with them,
Yes.
because I'm coming from a different place. So
Now, there's another
very
big
important.
word that a mum very rarely uses for herself. We say it to the kids,
Yes.
but we don't say it for ourselves. The big word, no.
Yes.
No, you can't do this. But it's like, Mom, can you do that? No. And we don't do it enough, do we?
Exactly. And that was a lot of mine, because my kids were younger. I would have to bring their lunches. They forget them. And a lot of times, if you're a stay-home mom, that expectation is even greater, because they're like, oh, you're at home, you're not doing anything.
Exactly. Yes. Oh no, place vacuums itself, dishes do
Right.
themselves, laundry does itself. I'm just watching soap operas all day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that is so true.
I remember actually at one time giving my husband a bill, an invoice. And he goes, what's this for? And I said, read it. So he looked at babysitting, how much it would cost, right? Housekeeping, how much it would cost, laundry,
good.
how much it would cost, bedtime, how much it would cost.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
I looked at the bill and goes, God, this is so much money. And I, and what do I get? What do I get? I don't even get a thank you, right? If I wasn't here, this is what you would have to pay to replace me.
Exactly. And, that's one of the things that we kind of just take it for granted.
Yes.
We just assume. And, there's just things that you need that you're going to have to make sure that there's that balance with. And it's not saying that we don't want to, but if you're doing that in a burnout mode, it just can spiral into so many different areas of your life, with your marriage, with your relationship with your kids, and resentment, anger, all these things can stem as a result of that. So it is so good to be able to have those very candid conversations, because your needs are going to change.
Yes.
And it's even with the kids. They start out as toddlers, and there's certain things that we have to do for them, and they grow up, they get independent, and we go through transitions, and we have to make sure that those are smooth transitions, take into account all the parties that are involved, because it's not just us, but it's a community, so to speak, within your own home.
Now, here's a big one. Most mums, wives, don't ask the husbands for help because, they've been out at work all day. Right? They come in, they're tired, they want to put their feet up, have a drink, watch football, expect the food on the table. And they don't acknowledge you're still working.
Right. And I think that's a hard one to kind of deal with, because there are even times where I feel like I can look back in my own past that I feel like I was communicating those things to my husband, but he just didn't hear them.
Right.
Because it's like if you're still doing certain things and not really speaking up for yourself, then it's like, oh, she's just kind of nagging, or she's saying this today and tomorrow she's going to be fine. They may not really understand the extent of
Mm-hmm.
what it is you're actually saying because they're so used to you doing these things. And so it's just like change, even when it comes to our kids. We look up and it's like, oh, they're preteens, their voice is getting deeper, or they interested in, girls or boys or whatever. And it just feels like it happens overnight. We weren't ready for it.
Right.
And so it's the same thing with some of the dynamics with family, with the needs of the wife or the husband. Things just change. And if we're not careful to make sure that those lines of communication are open, there's going to be other signs, like if you're not having date night,
Yes.
or certain things that you've established in your relationship to kind of make sure you have boundaries for these things, then it's going to make it harder, because when those things come up, if you've kind of just been going in survival mode for so long, you're not going to notice the warning signs.
Right.
But if there's certain things that you establish ahead of time, you can say, hey, you know what, this is getting out of control. And you have that arena, so to speak, where you can talk about these things. And it's not just like you're saying that's because he got home from work today.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's something that you guys are taking serious action to make sure that you're keeping an eye on certain things.
Well, it's the same thing as if you're running a business. You have to
Definitely.
be mindful of all the little details,
Right?
right? All the little
Mhm.
details will create cracks in the walls, if because
Right.
everybody's looking just for the big one, but no, those little
Mhm.
cracks grow bigger, and they get to a point you can't fill them in anymore. So
Exactly.
you have to look at a relationship in many, many ways as if you are running a business, because if you don't
Mhm.
spend attention to each other, that business is going to crumble.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's one of the hard things to be able to that's one of the things that I deal with a lot of women, is really being able to know your voice,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to express these things, to know what your values are, and be able to have effective communication. Because you could, like I said, you could be telling your husband certain things and they don't hear a thing. Or, they hear it as you saying it, but it's not as pressing as what you feel it is.
I
And
actually
so
found
there's ways.
writing was better.
Yes.
I used to write. I mean, I'm divorced now, but
Mhm.
the only way I found that my husband heard me is I wrote to them.
Mhm.
And so he could read it when he was ready. He could digest it in the
Mhm.
way he was ready. He attached
Mhm.
whatever tone he wanted to attach to it. But,
Right.
it was me being able to get my words out before, because if you speak it, the immediate defense goes up.
Exactly.
All right.
Mhm.
So if I'm handing it to him and he's reading it in his own time,
Right.
and reads it to the end, the hope is that he's actually going to truly listen to the whole thing and
Exactly.
not get defensive, just that, we need to talk.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I know for a lot of times with women, a lot of times before we even speak it,
Mm-hmm.
it's really been a problem.
Yes.
And so we're not coming from a place of, honey, can we
Yes.
sit down and talk? We are frustrated.
Right.
We are kind of like at wit's
We
end.
need to talk. Like, oh.
And so it's not going to be kind of
No.
effective anyway, because it's kind of like, the top has blown,
Yes.
at that point. And so that's when a lot of things could be misconstrued, and you're probably not even in a place to want to hear some of the comments. But, it's like we've been thinking about this for months or weeks.
Yeah.
And we just throw it on them, and we expect them to have an answer when they haven't had any time to meditate or think about it.
Right.
Because, the time that we've had. So, it says a lot to
Yes.
be able to communicate with that. That's true.
And
Mhm.
it's not the blame game. It's the, are you aware?
Right.
Right. You do this and you do that, blame game. If it's, are you
Exactly.
aware that when you do this, this is how I react? Because
Exactly.
most of the time they're completely ignorant as to what's going on. So if you make
That's
them aware,
right.
right, you're inviting them to see it from a different perspective and the effect that it's having on you. And if they love
Definitely.
you, they don't want to hurt you, right?
Right.
But if
Right.
you're coming at them with the blame, the defense goes up again.
Definitely. That's definitely true. Yeah.
Now, the sixth one that I love what you've got here, which is so very important, which is create a support group, a tribe of like-minded people to help encourage you on the bad days. We
Right.
need our village, don't we?
Yes, definitely. And, even through transition days,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that if I've kind of really tackled having toddlers and then my kids are going into the teenage years, being able to get some mentoring or coaching on people that have already dealt with teenagers and what that looked like can help allow
Yes.
me the grace to not be so hard on myself
Right.
or
Or
hard on
them.
my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be able to understand, okay, this is a realistic goal. What you want to do, that sounds good, but don't have these unrealistic expectations. And,
And also warning signs. I mean,
definitely.
how many times do we hear, I never saw that coming. I never knew that
Exactly.
was going on. And, and
Exactly.
that's the thing is suddenly very quiet in their room when they're normally not. Or, what
Yeah.
kind of friends are they with? Or are they spending too much
Mm-hmm.
time online? And I'm not, I demand you tell me. It's like,
Right.
I am noticing. Can you share with
Mm-hmm.
me? Right?
Excellent. Yeah, that's excellent because there are those things that happen. We
Yeah.
just kind of like, oh, it was a quiet day. That was
Right.
good. I'm looking for quiet days,
Yes.
and quiet can mean something else,
Yeah.
based on their age and,
Yes.
exactly all the things you alluded to. Because we look at our kids as being these perfect little mini me's.
Angels. Yes.
You know what I mean? We've
Yes.
got this good, we can bring them up with good values, and we just assume that they're not battling or struggling with anything. And, we have to be careful to make sure that we are approachable
Yeah.
and that we are attuned to what's really going on. Because how many moms have found out about, predators on social media because
Yes.
they weren't aware
Yeah.
of what was really going on? But there's people that take uh, liking to whatever age group certain kids are doing things.
Yeah.
And what is their motivation for that? Even
Right.
like some of these video games,
Yes.
and it's a way for them to sometimes
Suck 'em
not
in.
always be a good person, but be a predator.
Right.
So you have to be careful. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing is, it's very hard today because cyber is a wonderful learning tool. It's a wonderful connection
Mm-hmm.
tool and wouldn't be doing the show without it. But of course
Mm-hmm.
it has the dark side of it because there's darkness in humans. And,
Mm-hmm.
what you feed will grow. So if you feed
Definitely.
the light in your kids, but awareness of the darkness,
Exactly.
awareness, as I said, I used to teach my kids, walk the wall of life, but
Mm-hmm.
understand that if you push too far, you're going to fall over. And now, my kids
Mm-hmm.
fell over, and it'll be,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think you were doing? Now you've got a broken leg, but
Right.
that didn't mean at any time that I didn't love them. It's like, okay, now what are we going to do to get you back on your feet? Right?
Exactly.
They're the ones that are in pain or suffering from it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to
Mm-hmm.
persecute them any further.
Oh, definitely.
It's like that was stupid, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, Mum. But at the same time, they know the love is there, the caring is there to help them get back on their feet. And
Definitely.
one time my son took a path that I said, while you're on this path, I can't see you. It pains me too
Mm-hmm.
much to see these choices. It pains me too much, the anger that's in you. I cannot be around it. And we had
Mm-hmm.
very little to do with each other. And
Mm-hmm.
he said he came to a crossroads in life where it was this way or that way. And he said he saw my face and he saw my love. And he said,
Oh,
I can't do that to my mother. And he took the other road.
praise
Right?
God.
So
That's awesome.
even though we weren't around each other at that time, the
Mm-hmm.
love that I poured into him all his life was
Amen.
enough to direct it. So sometimes we just have to trust that, don't we?
Yeah, that definitely is true. And that's one of the things that I had to struggle with being away from my kids because all I knew was being a stay-home mom.
Yeah.
So in these hospitalizations,
Yes.
I feel like there might have been some abandonment issues and
Mm.
some trust that I still have to build up in each of my kids for that time because they didn't really understand it.
Right.
But the reality is of trusting what you instilled in your kids
Yes.
and giving them the time that they need to heal, because I feel like even though I needed to heal, they needed to heal also. And trusting that what you put in them is going to be evident, no matter what trial you go through. You just have to have the faith to believe that if you do something in love, it's going to be received that way.
Right.
No matter
and also,
how long.
not to feel guilty, the fact that you were in hospital because
Yes.
you made the choice to overdo.
Right.
You didn't ask for help, or you were living up to an expectation, and it wasn't, placed on them, because if they had more demands on you, it's because you were willing to give.
Exactly.
You didn't know your no. You didn't know your boundaries, right?
Yes.
So it was no blame on them, but kids automatically, when their parents are hurting, take the blame.
Exactly. Yeah. They feel like it was something they did or something like that. And still or even just the trust. Well, I don't know if I want to give this to mom. I don't know if this is going to take her over the edge. So, just dealing with the reality that definitely could be a thought process of them, but being able to figure out, what, you might have thought that this is how we're doing things differently now, but having those open conversations, because not only am I a victim, but they're a victim also, and being able to acknowledge that, and that happens, and that's the reality. It's like, hey, it is what it is. We could have that perfect life, but I don't know where it is.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, it's, again, the illusion, it's, the Brady Bunch,
Exactly.
The thing is, the perfect life is when, no matter what storms come into our lives, the love will prevail. The roots, the core will prevail.
Definitely.
And that, however many branches may break, we grow another branch, and it's making sure that we're there for each other. As I said, my daughter just got married a month ago, and the whole family was there, and there's my son crying, doing the speech. My other daughter, and it's just, her father was obviously there. We both walked her down the aisle because it was an outside wedding at an orchard, and it was a vegan wedding, and it was so her, so her.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm there with the camera filming the entire ceremony. Typical mom, which I made into a mini video of them. But the thing is that you see those moments, and it's their day. But it's your day too, because there's my first one getting married. But just to look at who they are, she's made the really right choice in spouse. I really like him a lot. And I like who she's become because of him. But she was willing to take the journey into her own self-discovery and not just settle, not just go with somebody because. There was always that in her, but no, if it doesn't feel right, I can't do it.
That's awesome.
And that is something, I think, to instill in our children, to listen to the soul, the heart, the spirit, and not just the head.
Definitely. Right? Yeah. And, you got to be careful with some of the outside influences, because even if you have close friends you grew up with, and, you can be conditioned to believe that you should be reacting a certain way.
Yes. Yes.
This is true.
And, popularity. Woo-hoo.
Definitely.
That's I'm passing my cough on, sorry. Popularity, it isn't just for the kids and the teens.
Definitely.
Mums, there's that competitiveness, and to be the popular mum and the popular house and the popular this.
Definitely.
And again, it's like, let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
You're being, again, a victim. To this societal expectation, housewives of, house moms of, and it's like, then comes out, oh, did you see what she did? Oh, what was she wearing? Oh, look what she did with their kids. And judgment, and we take it on, and we start questioning ourselves.
Definitely.
Let that go. That serves nobody. No one at all.
Serves nobody. Serves nobody. And
Yeah.
that leaves less for us to give to our kids, or
Yeah.
even just the shallowness
Yes.
of what it is we're striving, because it's not about the material things, it's not about status. At the end of the day, you can have those things
Yes.
and still be unhappy and unfulfilled,
Absolutely.
and that's what I learned. People look on the outside and it's like,
Mm.
wow, they got all these kids, they've been married this long, and they just have everything perfect, and that's not always true.
Right. No.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for the perfect life,
Mhm.
wrap yourself up in cellophane. It's just unrealistic. Life
Yeah.
is messy. Life
Mhm.
is meant to be filled with challenges and wonderment and exploration and adventure. It's not about
Mhm.
stagnation, and it's not about status quo. It is pushing the envelope of how far can I go, but making sure that you're going in the right direction. And sometimes you make a wrong decision, you go down a wrong road. Don't beat yourself up for it. Be aware of it, turn around,
Definitely.
be willing to go, what, that was a mistake. But it's
Mhm.
never a mistake if you've learned something from it.
Definitely. That is absolutely true. And that's what I tell people, learn from your experiences and establish a new boundary or
Yes.
establish a new value.
Yes.
Something that's going to change from how you do things in the future, so that you can learn and you can grow from that.
Right. Yes.
That's absolutely right. Mhm.
If here in Self Discovery Radio, TV.com, it's about interviewing people that have been willing to take the journey in life and to
Mhm.
share the challenges and the obstacles, and to show that by going through the process,
Mhm.
the knowledge and the wisdom to understand the knowledge and the
Right.
tools and the skills then they're now sharing with others.
Mhm.
And I always find it really beautiful when people have gone through some hard times and who they are today because of it.
Right.
And it's, be willing to go through the bumpy road, be willing to go
Mhm.
through the crash, be willing to go through the obstacles. There is
Mhm.
no avoiding them, but
Right.
who you are when you face them, who you become because of them,
Right.
is what life is all about. And being able to stand tall in your life once you've gone through something and look at your life and go, you know what? I took a windy road. I took a bumpy road. But
Right.
the road I'm on today, who I am today, what I represent today is someone I love and respect. And that's the
Definitely.
journey of life, isn't it?
Yeah, and that you hit the nail on the head with that one, because that is so important to realize in order for you to get free from whatever your obstacle or trials were. I
Yes.
know for me, I had to realize, you know what? Hey, I was hospitalized. I did this wrong. I did that wrong. But I'm not that person anymore. I didn't have the knowledge that I have now. And so now I can look at that and not feel judged by
Yes.
sharing that.
Yeah.
I can feel like I can totally embrace it, and I can be as transparent as need be to people who may be afraid of struggling through the same thing, because I'm not that person.
Right.
I'm an overcomer. So it's like
Yes.
I've been there, I've done that, and the things I tried, hey, 3 times I bumped my head against the wall, had to be hospitalized to figure out those were not working.
Right.
But now that I've figured out what works, I don't have a problem sharing what it was that had me in that place,
Yeah.
that bad place that I couldn't get out of. And so that is so important to realize that, as you go through your journey, that you have that self-awareness and have the courage to be self-aware.
Yeah.
Because, it comes from a place when you are experiencing that of feeling shame, of feeling judged and things like that. But once you just begin to embrace, hey, this is a part of who I am for whatever reason, how am I going to get past it? And you grab onto everything you can that's helping you until you get out, then, that's just the best place to be. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you
Hmm.
look back on yourself and you don't beat yourself up. I mean, God, I've made some
Right.
choices in life and go, what was I thinking? But
I
that's the
know.
point. You were in
Yes.
that zone, and you were thinking at the time that was the way out, or that was what was
Right.
expected of you. Now you
Right.
know better. And you're
Right.
going to be nicer and kinder to yourself. And that means that you
Exactly.
know how far you can go. You've learned the magic word
Exactly.
no,
Yes.
right? And you've placed that value upon yourself, because
Right.
when you oxygenate yourself, when you replenish
Mm-hmm.
yourself, your cup will runneth over, right?
Definitely.
When
Yeah.
you're replenishing everyone else, the well doesn't get, you know,
De-
repleted. It's you that's depleted, right? You
yes.
can't give anything if you're exhausted or
You can't.
finished.
I,
Yeah,
I always remind myself, you cannot pour from an empty cup.
exactly.
So, I was just pouring and pouring, and I don't know what I was pouring because there wasn't nothing in the cup. I
Right,
never took time to refuel it. So
right.
it's like
Exactly. And
no
you know,
telling what I was giving people.
resentment comes in. You know,
Yes,
resentment comes in. Nobody appreciates me. Nobody sees the pain I'm in. Nobody sees the hurt that
exactly.
I'm in. And, I developed an illness because of all of that, keeping it in,
Yes.
till my body
Mm-hmm.
broke down. And,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, one of those things that's going to stay with me forever. But I look at it sometimes as
Right.
a gift, because
Mm-hmm.
it makes sure I don't go and do what I have a tendency to do, which is overdo for everyone else.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
my no, right? It's my no.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
says, no, you
Yeah.
can't do that. Your body's not going to let you do
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Exactly.
no. And sometimes when we get these things, why do I have it? It's there to balance you, to make sure you
Definitely.
have that loving, nurturing care of yourself.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. Now it's like, because all the triggers, everything that I could have listened to, I just had no knowledge of.
Yes.
Bells and warning flags and
Yes.
everything were going around me, and I just never saw anything,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. No,
So,
because we're in mama mode. We're in sacral.
yeah,
I always say it's. I'm a woman of service, but
right.
I was a woman of servitude,
Yeah.
and I
Mm-hmm.
was a servant to everyone else.
Right.
All right? And I felt, you know, taken advantage of, and then
Exactly.
unappreciated. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
of service, but the balance
Right.
is, that in service there is always a reciprocal, right? So
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a while, especially if you're a giver.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a while to get, more than
Oh,
eight
yeah.
things to reprogram that,
Oh,
because it's
yeah.
in your nature to give.
Tell me about it. Yeah, and then recognizing that's a
Yeah.
good point because a lot of people feel like because they're a giver, they're thinking that this is what they're supposed to do as a giver. But
Yes.
just like you pointed out, it has to be reciprocal
Yes.
and you have to give from a place of abundance.
Right.
A lot of times, even though I felt like I was a giver, it was a place of scarcity. I felt like I only had so much energy. There was only so much that I could do, and it didn't feel the way that it feels now when I give.
Right.
It felt like it was an obligation.
Yes.
I felt
A
like it was a
duty.
burden,
Hmm.
yeah, duty, and things like that. But now it's a place of abundance. It's a place of adding value and, really feeling like I'm in control of what I'm doing rather than being controlled.
Did you ever at any time look at and go, why did I have so many children?
I love the children. That's the thing.
Hmm.
I don't know if it was just being an only child. My grandmother had 12 children.
Right.
And I spent a lot of summers with her. And I just enjoyed, even though at that time, none of her kids really were living with her. But I don't know if it was just her impression that
Hmm.
she left on me with family. But my husband and I, we just got along and I had my kids natural. 11 of them were.
Wow.
The last two, I had to have a C-section. I think it was just high risk with my age. But I just enjoyed them. I just, another one would come, they would be healthy. I felt like, who am I to complain? I
Hmm.
just enjoyed their company and I didn't really have a problem raising them.
Right.
So I just kept on doing it,
Yeah.
but it's just that whole thing of feeling like, and I guess it might have felt like it was a journey, right now it was just like on a motherhood journey.
Yes.
So it's like having kids, but understanding that even though if you're doing that role, there's still other things that have to be taking place simultaneously.
Yes.
You don't have the luxury of saying, okay, I'm a mom now. So nobody called me for anything else. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So I think that was the whole thing of trying to coordinate the balance, which what I struggle with.
But
It
you have rules and regulations, which I can see behind you.
Mhm.
Structure for your family,
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
does what and everything else. But what
Right.
you didn't do it for yourself, though, did you?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And I
because
just
you're
thought,
always
you
the
know
last
what?
ones.
It's just, yeah, I'm like, it's just common sense. I
Yes.
mean, putting other people in place is going
Yeah.
to help me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to,
Yeah.
because you can, as a mom, as you can see, just like you noticed with the thing that you gave your husband,
Yes.
our job is 24/7. I
Yes.
don't care if you go to sleep or
No.
whatever the case is, you never get
No.
to punch out of the
No.
time clock.
No. Even
Never.
if you are asleep, I mean,
Exactly.
your last point is make sure you get a good solid 8 hours sleep, which is a
Right.
luxury when you have kids, because even if everybody's sleeping through the night, you're always sleeping with one ear open,
Tell me about it.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I told my daughter when she was having a baby. I was like, you're never going to sleep the same before you have kids
Yeah.
to after you have them. It's just never going to be the same.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What are you talking about, Mom?" And it's
Mhm.
like, she's like, "Yeah, I'm a light sleeper now. I feel
Yeah.
like I can't sleep real hard because, she's wondering how the baby's doing and stuff." But yeah, that is so true.
Yep. And guys can
Hmm.
sleep through everything.
Through everything.
Yeah.
Through everything. My husband's snoring. I'm like, "What?" The
Yes.
baby's crying. I'm like, "Don't you hear him?"
No.
Even my grandson, it's like I can hear everything that he's doing. And my husband's like, "I don't hear a thing."
Yeah. No, that's the thing. You're just constantly tuned in,
Right.
and even you could be asleep and everything's too quiet. It's too quiet.
Oh yeah.
You
Right.
go around, count heads, check everybody's okay, then you go back to
Exactly.
bed. You're never off
Exactly.
duty.
You are right. That is so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, my kids are all older now, kind of 30 to 36, but, and we don't live together at all anymore. But
Right.
I'm still in that terrible sleep pattern. I wake up at
Oh, I
every little
know.
sound. So,
I know. Yeah. That
yes.
definitely is
And
true.
that last point, getting the 8 hours sleep, it's much, much harder. And I think this is where you have to kind
Mhm.
of go to the spouse or to anyone else and say, look, I need this sleep. Whether you go sleep in the baby's room or not, I'm not
Right.
getting up for the baby. The earplugs are going in. I have got to
Mhm.
recharge. And you
Yeah.
have to be willing to say that. And not like, well, he's got work the next day. Well, so have you.
Right.
So have you.
Yeah.
And if you don't get the sleep, you're going to collapse and be in hospital. So,
Oh yeah. And
yeah.
because sleep deprivation really
Yes.
is, I know that each time that I was hospitalized, right before I just wasn't getting any sleep.
Yes.
I was not getting any. And so, you don't really think that it affects you,
Oh, I
but
guarantee it does.
yeah,
Yes.
your mental state, your
Yes.
emotions, your
Yeah.
metabolism,
Yes.
it
Everything.
affects your weight, everything.
Everything.
So you really have to make sure you have to be vigilant. And for
Yeah.
me, I have to set my alarm on my phone every day. It rings. It's like, hey, it's bedtime,
Yeah.
and then it's the same for when I get up in the morning,
Yeah.
you got to do that. You
Yeah.
just have to.
Yeah.
So whether I'm sleepy or not, it's like I'm in the bed,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Horizontal
So,
and just at least relaxing. Right. And you
exactly.
know what? If you can and you can grab a 20-minute nap in the day, do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes, I know the vacuuming should be done or that should be done, but you know what? It's not going to cause the house to come down. If you do need
definitely.
that 20-minute nap, take it. That little
Take it.
recharge will get you through the rest of the day.
It definitely will. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Because vacuuming, anybody can do. That can be an
Anybody.
activity you
Yes.
can do with your kids. Hey,
Yes.
you know what? We're going to do vacuuming today.
Right. Yes.
Showing them how to do it. Kids love that. They want to be helpful.
Well,
It's us who tries to have these, oh, it's got to be vacuumed this way,
yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
get over the Miss Perfect. Yeah. No.
Right.
The thing is praise them for what they're doing. Right?
Exactly.
And if you're going, you know what? How about next time you just try this, or you try that,
Exactly.
right? Instead, you're doing it
Exactly.
wrong. It's got to be done like this. It's again
Exactly.
approach.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's I've done quite a number of shows on food and things, and families
Mhm.
that prepare together, whether it's just
Mhm.
setting the table or clearing the dishes or whatever the case is,
Mhm.
and then eat together. Not
Mhm.
only have a hell of a lot more open for communication, but a more
Mm-hmm.
appreciation, gratitude for
Mm-hmm.
the food that they have, right?
Right.
But a sense of family and
Mm-hmm.
community. And so
Mm-hmm.
it also digestively is so much more healthier for them.
Oh yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, because we take, like I said, all these things for granted, and also just the whole thing of, kids would love to be included, and a lot of times as moms, sometimes we don't include them,
Right,
and then we want to go back and say everybody just expects me to do everything, and it's
right.
like, have the kids take the plates to the
Yes,
table,
yes,
have them, dish out the food and put it
yes,
in the bowls, they're willing to do this, but it's kind of like they have a hands-off attitude
right,
because we push them away.
right.
Hey, I'm cooking. Don't you see I'm cooking?
Yeah,
I'll be done shortly, instead of
yeah.
making that a teachable
And
moment.
if they want to
Yeah,
learn to cook or they want to make something, and of
exactly.
course it's going to be an absolute pit, flour everywhere,
Right.
you say, okay, yes, you're willing to do that, but you understand you're cleaning up,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the thing is we're teaching them how
Mm-hmm.
to interact with others in their own lives. So
Yes.
if we're doing everything for them, they're going to expect everything to be done for them through their lives.
Yeah.
If we're showing them how to do everything and with gratitude
Mm-hmm.
and with grace, they're going to do
Mm-hmm.
that in their lives. So
Mm-hmm.
how we ask them to treat us and how we treat them is what they're going to take forward with us. So
Absolutely.
and we may be mum, but that doesn't mean, and actually on your poster I've got a mum there with all the arms and everything that she's got,
Mm-hmm.
that she's
Mm-hmm.
doing. Yeah, we may be able to do that, but that doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
we have to do that, not when there's able
Exactly.
bodies around, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
it's okay to ask for help.
it is, because the main thing is making sure, I know for me, I just choose to be happy.
Yes,
And
huge.
you want your kids to choose to be
Yes,
happy. And it's like, you're going to have bad days. There's going to
yeah,
be deaths in your family. There's going to be sad stories in the news and
yeah,
things that happen within your community. But you still can choose to be happy, even though those things are going around. And so it's really for you to be proactive and establish a kind of value
yeah.
system or daily routine that make sure that you are happy, because happiness is an intrinsic thing. It's not
Yes,
like
yeah.
it's,
It's an inside
I
job.
can have 5 houses and I'm happy. There's just no way that you can pour into happiness by having all these outside things. It just doesn't work like
5
that.
houses, 5 mortgages, 5
Exactly.
maintenance. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is for me, it was about kind of the prayer of white light, is when somebody's having a hard time, send them white light, send them a prayer. And I think
Mm.
teaching your kids to, like the fires in California right now,
Oh yeah.
it was a volcanic engulfment of flames that took people
Mhm.
before they even had a chance. And,
Mhm.
it's the repercussions of that haven't even started. I've known many people I've
Right.
interviewed or colleagues that have lost everything. And
Mhm.
right around Thanksgiving, be thankful they have their
Right.
life, but now they've got to rebuild everything. And this is where community
Mhm.
needs to come together. And if all you can do is some loving prayers, we've got to understand that that loving prayer energy
Yes.
accumulates and goes out and helps them find the courage and the energy to go through what they're going through. So,
Definitely.
teaching a family to care for others is so important, isn't it?
It is so important because, like I said, you're going to have these trials and things that
Yes,
are beyond your control. But it's, what do you want to be remembered for?
exactly.
And, because the material things, just that you say with the fire, they can be gone in 30 seconds flat.
Yes,
And then are you able to live with the person that you are as a result of that?
right.
I was reading this quote that I had wrote a couple months ago, and it said, success is not sweet if it requires a ladder that you use the backs of others to get to the
Yes.
top,
Yeah,
you know? So you have
absolutely.
to be very careful about, how you acquire these things and how you achieve it, because you want to be able to have a legacy that you're proud of and one that you would want your kids to
Yeah.
continue to maintain.
And, believe in miracles. I had a house
Yeah.
fire And I remember standing there as my house is engulfed, and I just said, please don't take the pictures. Please don't take the family pictures. And once the fire was out and the fireman had me go in, and like, you know, all the windows are broken and black, and the roof, part of the roof had come in. And he said, look at this. And he said, every bit of glass in here is black, shattered or black. And he said, and look at that. And all the pictures of the children were still completely clear. And and the room where the photo albums were was completely engulfed all around it. None of the albums were touched.
Wow.
So that power of that prayer, never underestimate it. Never underestimate the energy. Never underestimate asking your friends, your colleagues, your tribe, your family for that universal prayer, because it is so impactful. And it's got nothing to do with religion or faith. It's that prayer, that loving energy, that divine energy that really has so much power. And at times that we feel we're on our knees and that we can't manage anymore, you know, asking people for that loving energy, it really helps a great deal. Don't be afraid to ask.
Oh yeah, you know, because it takes a village. You know, you look at you know, any business, you know, it takes customers and the business owners and the people that work, you know, the salesmen and everything. So in order for something to be a complete masterpiece, it takes a lot of moving parts. And so realizing that, I mean, I don't know where we kind of got this idea that family was just only for just the husband and wife, or, you know, only for the mom when it comes to parenting. You know, it takes a village. And so just having that mindset of knowing that there's no weakness in getting help. You know, you're able to move a lot further if you do get help. But, you know, for some reason, we feel like, you know, it's a weakness. Instead of recognizing that, hey, you know, people are actually pouring wisdom and helping you avoid some of the pitfalls in your life that can really be obstacles to stop progress.
And, you know, again, we're back in a world where we're a little weary about where the help comes from. And that's one of the reasons I do these shows, because before you reach out and ask for someone's help, you know, their work, you've listened to them. Did you resonate with them? Did you hear them? Do you feel they'll hear you? And if we're willing to take the time to investigate and to listen, we'll find those people that can hear us, that understand us, that have something that's going to help us, because
that makes sense.
They understand. That's the reason I do these shows. That's the reason why there's going to be a directory coming up of all the coaches and everything else I've interviewed.
That's
so
good.
that people can listen and then go directly to the source. And that's the thing is, you know, you send the kids off to the community center or off to this and off to that. You know, be mindful of who's there first. You know, because one bad influence, right? So I know it's another little burden for you, but you can go and do it together with your spouse. Check it out. Ask other people. That's where your tribe comes in. You know, what do you think of this person here? He's doing this, he's doing that. Do you think he's, you know, legit?
Right.
And you know, you don't have to make these decisions blindly. Ask your community, right?
Right. And I think that's a good point, because just because people are saying they're doing something, this is one of the things I tell my kids, you know, because we used to go a lot off of what people say. The word really meant something. People would have a handshake and that was it.
Right.
But now you have to watch people's actions to make sure they measure up with what people are saying. So I tell them to listen with their eyes instead of their ears right now. You know,
and their gut.
You want to make sure.
And their gut. Never ever underestimate your intuition. That's God divine. That's God's voice in there. And if your gut says, there's something wrong, it doesn't matter if you can't articulate it. Trust me.
This is true. You're right. It saved me from a lot of heartache. That's for sure. So just like you said, you don't have to know the answer is why this isn't right or whatever. Just know that that's a yes or no situation.
Exactly. And if you're questioning it and you can't come up with an answer, step away until something reveals, right?
Exactly.
Well, so-and-so's doing it. Well, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's right for them. Maybe not right for you, right?
That's absolutely right. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think you are a Wonder Woman. I think you are a superwoman, super mom. I mean, I had 3 and a few neighborhood kids, and
Yeah.
that enough for me. And the fact that you have 15 and now a grandson at home as well.
Oh, yeah.
And so, but clearly it comes from love, and
Yeah.
those children are going to go out into the world spreading that love,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something we need a lot more of.
Oh, yeah.
We're hungry for love. We're hungry
Mm-hmm.
for feeling loved, and
Definitely.
and we're scared to love because we don't know how to feel love. And so
Exactly.
that love, self-discovery of our love within us is a journey that we have to be willing to take. But the more that we
Mm-hmm.
pour that love into our children and give them that as a foundation to walk forward in life, is only means that we're contributing to society with loving
Yes.
people that are going to be great contributors.
That
So,
is so true.
all
Mm-hmm.
the love that you give those kids, they're going to carry forth in life. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, how do people get hold of you? I know that you're in the middle of building your site, but you do
Yes.
have LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and email.
Mm-hmm.
Would you please let people know what those URLs are so people know how to get hold of you?
Yes, the best place really to get a hold of me is on LinkedIn. That's the one that I'm most active on. Just as we were discussing before we recorded, just with this coaching, it's been very organic. It's like I come from a business background. I graduated with a marketing degree,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done like businesses behind the scenes with my husband while I've been at home. And one of the things with coaching is that I have just allowed it to have a real organic growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so things are happening a lot faster than the actual business side of setting up the website and doing things a certain way. It's just that, the demand has kind of come before the business has actually started. So
Mm-hmm.
really LinkedIn, just with Lachelle Atkins is the best way to find me.
Can you
I
spell
am
the
on
name for our
Facebook.
audio listeners, please, love?
Sure. It's LAC as in cat, HELLE. And then my last name is AD as in David, KINS. So that's Lachelle Atkins. And then you can find me under Facebook and Instagram underneath the same name.
Okay. And there's
Mm-hmm.
also Protocol Group Inc. as well on Facebook.
Yes, that's actually, yeah, on Facebook. And then my
Lish-
email is just protocolgroupinc@gmail.com.
Protocol Group Inc. at
Mm-hmm.
gmail.com. And
Mm-hmm.
Instagram is Lachelle Atkins as well.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, I put up your video that Channel 5 did, Fox News,
Oh,
on the
okay.
Mother's Day, and a great
Uh-huh.
picture here of the family, and of course the video that you've put forth. And people are going to wonder how you even have time to do anything, but they again that
Yeah,
you by raising a family, you have been running a business, right?
definitely.
And you've
Yeah,
had a few curveballs along the way, but that just meant that you knew what didn't work and which
yes,
direction to make it work. So,
definitely. And that little promo video, I just wanted to give a shout out to one of my daughters. She's 19. She
mm,
actually edited and did that little promo video. And I thought it was so cute because it is speaking to the client,
yeah,
that I am actually working to, so you'll get a kick out of it. It's kind of funny, the format of it and everything, but it's like, the concept is that life is not perfect.
right.
And no matter how hard we try to be perfect, you can have a fulfilled life, but it's making the choices that you want to make and then finding a tribe of people that can help you get there. So whether it's 1, 2, or 10, it doesn't matter, but you can still have a life that you want, but making sure that you have the right tools to get that life.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And whether it's
Hmm.
1 or whether it's 15 or whether it's none,
Right.
all of
Hmm.
these apply,
Right.
to life itself. And,
Hmm.
that's the thing is, if you can go forth in life with this knowledge and
Hmm.
and the access to the wisdom to know how to use the knowledge, you're going to be so much further ahead than we have because we've kind of paved the way. We had to
Definitely.
go down the potholes, we had to hit our heads a few times,
Right.
but while what we're doing is, yes, you're going to have some wobblies along the way, but you don't have to
Hmm.
be flattened. if you avoid them,
Exactly.
right? Because we
Exactly.
want people to get further ahead faster.
Definitely.
And
Definitely.
that's what sharing all of this wisdom is all
Hmm.
about.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
I take that from my millennials. That's one of the things I remember with them. They always keep me abreast of that. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
we can still accomplish great things, but we just don't have to go the
Yeah.
detour road if we
Yes.
can go there a lot faster. So
Right.
for that, I will, they've helped me see change and
Yeah.
embrace it and growth and, increase my perspective and just vision in general. I've learned so much from them. So
Right.
I just want to definitely commend them for staying true to who they are,
Yeah.
which allowed me to be able to see the positives in, the generation that they're living
And see you.
in.
Because we see
Yeah,
ourselves through others' eyes,
this
whether
is
we
true.
whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
That that reflection reflects back. And so
Mhm.
it's when you see a kid having a tantrum or an animal having a tantrum, it's very often
Mhm.
to what's around it that's triggered it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
we may not like what we see all the time, but don't beat yourself up. It
Oh
just
yeah.
means, I need to correct this. I need to be
Definitely.
kinder to me, right? And that's
Mhm.
important, being kinder to
Yes.
yourself.
Yes.
So we're
Absolutely.
coming up to the Christmas season, as you can see with my poinsettias,
Mhm.
and this
Yeah.
show is an all year round and for many years to come. But specifically for the Christmas season, where it's so easy for mum to get overworked, over anxious, have
Mhm.
everything perfect. Everybody's got the right gift. The tree's good, the food's good, the this good, that good.
Mhm.
In closing, a word of advice on how to pace themselves through this Christmas period to
I
mums.
Okay. The word of advice that I would give would be to remember what it is that you are working towards. So the holidays, a lot of times we think about the gift giving, we think about the food and preparation, but what is it that the memory that we want to create, the time that we're able to spend with family and just being able to enjoy one another's company? You have family that comes in from out of town. Do you want them to come in and then not even remember playing with them or having a game or being able to connect and take pictures? So you want to be able to keep your goal and objective always forefront and then let the other things make that even better. So it's like, the important thing is that your family's coming, you're going to be able to share together and create memories, and everything else is an extension of that. So if you're going to be preparing food, how can we make this a memory? Maybe we should make cookies if we have a lot of little kids so that we
Mhm.
can create a memory or a video of them decorating cookies and
Mhm.
things like that. So you want to be able to create an experience around what it is that you are working to build. I think that's one of the things to really keep in mind, because the holidays will come and go.
Yeah.
And you could go through the routine or the tradition of always going somewhere, but it's the meaning is lost, and that's what happens with a lot of people shopping for the holidays. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I got a gift, but is that really even something that they want? Or are you
Right.
just buying it just because it's on sale? So just really being able to take control and think about, it's about the memories, it's about being with family. So how can we create good memories that will last beyond the day's event?
Delegate too,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely.
You're all in this together. Delegate. You don't have to take it
Absolutely.
all on. Also,
Yes.
do as much prep as you can ahead of time so you're not leaving
Se-
everything to the last moment.
Absolutely. Yes,
And don't
definitely.
mind if the kids make cookies and they make a mess. As you say, video it. It's part of the
Right.
memory.
Hmm. Definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. Preparation, preparation. I can't stress that enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And,
delegation and delegation.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's okay to say no.
Hey, and another thing with delegating is being voluntold,
Yeah.
because a lot of people won't volunteer, so you have to volunteer them.
Yeah.
Hey, this is what you're doing.
Right. Yes, exactly. Not like who wants to and everybody leaves the room. All
Exactly.
right. And it's like, you're good at potatoes, you're good at this, you're good at that. Right.
Exactly. Or,
Yeah.
you didn't cook, so you're cleaning.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
Exactly. It's a team event, so it's a team
Yes.
effort. Exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, thanks so much, love. There's a lot we've learned here today. And, thank you for sharing with us.
Oh, I have really enjoyed it. I'm so glad that our paths crossed.
Hmm.
And if I can serve you in any way in the future, just give me a call. I would love to come back and share at any time.
Wonderful. Most certainly. We'll have
Mm-hmm.
to, we need to support, our mums.
Yes.
And, it's a beautiful road, but it's a hard
Mm-hmm.
road.
It is
You know,
hard.
and
Mm-hmm.
there are times we do feel alone, and we do feel isolated, or we do feel confused, and we do feel,
Mm-hmm.
are we doing it right? Which is a
Right.
huge one. And
Mm-hmm.
and then our kids will go do something, but I thought I taught them better. No, realize that's their
Exactly.
choice. The core
Exactly.
knows better, but the head has ruled in this point, and you can
Oh,
disagree
yeah.
with what they've done, but it's never got to be, the love has never got to be a part of that game,
Oh, yes.
right?
Yes.
So discipline
Mm-hmm.
and love are something different.
Yes.
But it's your kids are going to make mistakes, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not on you if that love has been there. It's just that's their choice, and they're going to have to
Exactly.
live with that, and you just help them get through it.
Yeah. And that's really the hardest lesson
Yeah.
to learn when it comes to motherhood,
Yes.
because we just think, oh, well, I told them, so they're just going to listen and it's just going to work out.
Yeah.
And I'm just making sure that I remind them of
Yeah.
what the objective is and they're going to do it. And hey,
Yeah.
you never know who their friends are, what their
Right.
situation is, all that. It
Right.
makes a difference,
Yes, it does. It
Mm-hmm.
does.
Yeah.
So yes, we have to, let it go and forgive ourselves for the choices
Yes.
they make. As
Mm-hmm.
long as we know that we're pouring that love in them, pouring the moral compass in there,
Yes.
the
Yes.
kindness and caring towards other people and each other and
Mm-hmm.
themselves, that will always bring them back to their core, even if sometimes they branch out and make some wrong decisions. And all we can do is
Definitely.
just pray that those decisions are not costly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That is so true. Yeah.
Mm. Well,
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much, and I wish you and your family a wonderful festive season. Filled with love
Same.
and joy and togetherness, and no stress.
Oh, no stress. Absolutely. I wish the same for you. And again, I thank you so much for having me on here and having the opportunity to share with your audience.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And to
Mm-hmm.
everyone else, remember, kind of lighten up, enjoy being a parent, okay? But remember,
Mm-hmm.
you are a reflection. So if you're getting anything back from your kids, it's what you're mirroring. So
Oh
it's up to
yeah.
you to place that love and kindness and tenderness on yourself, because that's what will reflect back to your kids. And being a
Mm-hmm.
parent and being a mom is absolutely awesome. But remember, even though
Mm-hmm.
you are Superwoman, you're not here to save the world.
Amen.
Until next time, folks, bye for now. For more wonderful shows like this, please go to selfdiscoveryradio.com, podcasts, and see our lineup. And if you wish to support us, we have a funded button. Please stay tuned for our next show.